Well, welcome to this demonstration of InterAcct's job costing system. What we're looking at here is a typical main menu for InterAcct, and as you can see it's made up of a series of colourful buttons and a normal menu numbered 1 through to 16 in this case. Now these menu options will change quite dramatically depending on what software modules you've elected to purchase and that are relevant to your business. And the menu options could also change for people within your organisation, where you can, depending on their security access rights, preclude them from sensitive areas such as the general ledger. But this demonstration is all about job costing. As you can see, it's menu number 2. Now this is where you can see a central register of all jobs. That might be jobs that have been estimated, quoted, won and awaiting commencement, in work in progress, or indeed completed, or even those jobs that are lost. But you can also create and view jobs under the business names database. So that might be for a client or a prospect where you can see a history of the work that you've done for a particular organisation. So the InterAcct's job costing system is not set up for one particular industry group. It could be suitable for large businesses where they require a comprehensive database of information on jobs, just as much as it could be for a small business wanting a very simple system. Now that might be for construction, trades or contractors, of course engineering firms, or indeed it could be for someone that's manufacturing products. So what we're going to do now is go on and have a look at the list of jobs and indeed create a new job. So we're going to select menu number 2 to go into the jobs database, and when we do that, what's going to happen is it's automatically going to come up with the search screen. And this is where you can search on existing jobs that are in the jobs database from any combination of these particular fields here. You'll notice that some of the fields have a little magnifying glass against them, and that allows you to click on that magnifying glass and pop up a table of allowed values so you can be reminded of what to search on. But in this case I've only got a limited number of jobs, so I'm just going to press the Start Search button or indeed the Enter button and see a list of jobs. Now this list of jobs will come out in reverse date sequence, so if you've got 10 or 20 years history of jobs, the first screen will always show you the most current jobs that you're working on. Now what we're going to do now is show you how easy it is to create or add a new job, and we're going to just move through some of those fields. So the big green plus button up here where it says add a new record, I'm going to click on that, or indeed you can press the plus key on your keyboard. And automatically we're into adding a new job. So the first field is this job status, and again it pops up this table of allowed values automatically for us to choose from. Now we can select by using our mouse by just clicking on a number, use the arrow key up and down, or indeed just in this case press enter to select the first value. So when you start off a job, it might be just as an inquiry, and later when you do a quotation, the system will automatically change the status for you. So I'm just going to press enter to select inquiry, and it moves straight on to the job type field. Now you can have any number of job types to suit yourself, there's no limits. Now this job type is quite a powerful field, and it will determine what job cost fields you want to have for a particular job, what menus are relevant for that type of job. It will also determine the basis under which you want to analyse the revenue for that type of work in your general ledger, and therefore your profit and loss reporting. So it really is a thing where you can control how you want your jobs to appear, and there could be lots of different fields that you want for a service style job as opposed to a new work. If you want to create new job types on the fly, you just simply click on this button here, and that will allow you to go into that database here and add more job types on the fly. Now I'm just going to select number 4 here, a computer installation project. It's moved on again to another field, in this case job categories. Once again you can set up this table to suit yourself. You can have as many job categories as you like, and this might of course be a useful basis for your searching, as we saw a moment ago, or indeed for selecting for job reports later on. So I'm just going to select new work, and it moves on automatically to say who's the client that we're doing this work for. Now again you can control by your job type field whether this field is relevant, so you could have jobs that are not related to clients of course. Now it's asking us to do a search method, just to start with a quick search, and that might be just to type in the word electrical or something of that nature, and it will do a search on those first few letters. It's brought up a client list. I've only got limited data here, so I'm just going to select that client, And next it's saying us where's the job site location for that particular client. Now one client can have any number of site locations. Again, if you're going to be doing work in the workshop and it's not relevant to go out to a job site location, you can have this field not come up at all for certain types of jobs. So I'm just going to select that. And now it's saying what's the project or job name. And as you can see right down the foot of the screen, it's been following us all the way, is help on this particular field. So it's really like an online operator's manual. If you don't like what the help text is saying, if it's not relevant to your business, of course you can go in there and we can show you how you can change this help text to suit yourself. Of course there is a little button here saying manual, which is a mini manual on the topic of job costing, which is actually a Microsoft Word document. You can click on that and go link directly to that as well. So I'm just going to say here it's a computer installation for electrical contractors. So this little job name, installation, I've got a little typo there. And you've got an extra line of comment if you need that. Now this is a standard comment that again was linked to the job type. You can overwrite that to suit yourself. So I'm going to press enter to add the job. Now the job is added, you can see there's a next menu displayed, it's added a job number. So what I'm going to do now is just work you through some of these fields and explain what some of these fields are all about, and then we'll have a look at the attached menu. Well, we've now added our first file under the job cost database. This is the job header file. It heads up all the information that you'll later have recorded under one particular job. And as you remember, some of these fields of data entry we keyed in, others have come in automatically, such as the project manager. It's defaulting to John O here. Now that project manager may be a default project manager linked to either the job type or indeed linked to the client. But if you wanted to, during the implementation process for your InterAcct system, we can personalize it so that you can have this on an input field. It might take us only a matter of a few seconds to do that, so we can set up the screen to suit yourself. So too it feels like the job priority that defaulted automatically to normal. Again, if you want to have that on input, no problem. Customer authorization number or order number, we skip that field at this stage. Again, you can pause there if you want to during data entry and key it in. The origin of lead, where did we get this job from? Now that might have copied in automatically from the client file, but if you prefer you can have it on data entry, and that may be useful for later doing post-promotional analysis. In other words, what sort of revenue are you getting from jobs from a certain original source. The follow-up date we skipped as well, but again you can have that on data entry during the adding process for a job, and of course if you enter a value there, it's automatically going to update the follow-up diary or alert system to remind you to get back to in relation to that job. The fields, if some aren't relevant to you, we can take them off the display entirely. So too with this next menu. One of the fields here is how do you want to raise an invoice, and it's quite an important field. It's defaulting to no, which is linked to that job type again, and what that means is that you can set up a job that says when we do work and as we do work for this particular job, you may want to create automatically draft invoices that maybe once a week or once a month, just whenever you like, and it will go and look at all those jobs where you want to raise automatic invoicing for and prepare draft invoices which you can amend if necessary or delete or accept, and they'll then automatically create your invoice run for you. So fields like that you can personalize to suit yourself. Look, another thing here is a big blank area of the screen. You're probably wondering what that's all about. Certain InterAcct clients may be doing service jobs on equipment or motor vehicles or indeed boats, and they might use this area of the screen to record the type, make, model, serial number of the item that they're working on. But again, it can be personalized to set up for any particular use that you want to put it to, these extra fields of information. The buttons, we talked about the buttons as we were adding the job, and indeed we explained that you could add new types, job types on the fly. But the button here, it says View Client, allows you to link between the client and the job. So if I click on this one here, View Client, it takes us into the client file. Here we are, name, address, all sorts of details. You can see they owe us $99. We've got all the debtors information here, and indeed we've got, as menu number 7, a list of all the client jobs that we've done for and you can see a list of, just for this client, of all the work we've done for this client. Okay, so it's a very convenient way to link between job and client and vice versa. We can also add contact names for this organisation here. We can add new addresses, site locations here. This map allows us to link between InterAcct and Google Maps. So in this case it will show us the site location in a Google Map format, or indeed click on directions. Again, using Google, it will show us how to get to this particular job site location from your own office or warehouse location. The manual, as I mentioned before, is a Microsoft Word document. Click on that, you can view the manual on the screen, which is a mini manual on the topic of job costing in this case. You can amend that manual to suit yourself, of course. The video button is actually a link to this particular video, so it might be relevant just to sit back and learn about job costing if you wanted to get your employers to do that. Okay, so what we're now going to do is just work through this menu 1 through to 11, just explain what they're all about, and some won't be relevant to you, of course, but others may well be. Okay, well, 11 items on this job menu, all in relation to this one particular job. Our focus at the moment is on number 9 here, transactions and processes. And what we've done on this particular menu is to show all of these 11 menus on it, plus all the other menus in relation to one particular job. So it's a great way of actually seeing the full scope of what sort of information you can record against a job. So let's go there now and we'll work through those menus. Very big menu. You can see it menus numbers from 1 through to 66 in this example. It'd be highly unusual that one InterAcct customer would have all of these menus on display. And of course you can personalize the display to suit yourself. Just one example of that, of course, you can see here manufacturing. So if you haven't purchased that software module, if it's not relevant to your business, you won't see those items at all, and of course the other menus will renumber automatically. So what we're seeing here is on one screen in relation to one job is the estimating quoting area up at the top here, and indeed budgeting. The process by which we open a job and start to schedule employees and details about the contracts. We've got all the billing and credit notes and progress claim area here, and all the accounting transactions such as timesheets and creditors' invoices and subcontractors' charges and purchase orders, all the transactions which you can key in for a particular job here. Alternatively, right off the main menu, you might have noticed the accounting menu, which we've got a link to here. So you can go link to the accounting menu, and under the accounting menu, here we have it displayed, the accounting menu, you can do all the accounting entries. Of course, if you haven't got the security access rights as a user to this menu, you won't be able to do this link. But here's all the banking and check payments, and of course, once again, the job transactions. So job transactions can be entered either in the accounting menu, which is right off your main menu, or if I go back, it can be the accounting transaction for a job can be entered under the job itself. The two files update each other like mirror files automatically. We can see here a whole series of processes, lots and lots of them, where we can write letters or record contact history or have documents stored against a particular job. That's all listed out here, and all sorts of visual search inquiries in relation to this job, so we can see what purchase orders or works orders on subcontractors are outstanding. We can go to a detailed cost ledger transaction, or indeed a financial summary. Lots of different ways of looking at the costs, which might be, of course, budget, actual and variance analysis on that particular job. And lastly, a list of various reports and report configurators and report generators, and you may well have your own reports designed to suit yourself, showing you either very detailed information or indeed very summarised information. But as you'd expect, there's quite a suite of existing reports that are there and available for you to run and use automatically, and we have report generators where you can create your own reports. So this screen here just shows you in one snapshot all the sort of information and files on one particular job. Well, back at the main menu here, as what we've been doing all along now has just been looking under menu number 2 for the jobs database, and we may go back into there in a moment. But also on this main menu, as you can see, number 12 is the jobs menu, and this is indeed the job setup menu. Now, we didn't go in here first time, so what I want to do is show you some of the items on that menu. In the job setup menu, this is where, it's under the heading of getting started here, this is where you set up your various tables of allowed values. Such things as your job categories, for instance, where we saw the table before of 4 different items. This is where you can actually go and add to that table, or indeed delete them or change them to suit yourself. So when you first get started with your job costing system, this is where you can define all your ways in which you want to do things, and at all the default values, etc., etc. And even the quotes, terms and conditions and clauses and all those sorts of things, this is where you actually set up the way you're going to use the system with all your own information. Repeated here is the job cost transaction files as well, such as for timesheets, issuing stock and reserving stock for a job, expense recovery and machine time if that's relevant to you, and subcontractors' works orders and purchase orders. All those sort of things are on this menu as it was under the job, and as it was also under the accounting menu. So this is actually a third menu that allows you to enter job transactions. Quite useful for those people that may be able to enter job cost transactions but indeed aren't able to access the normal accounting general ledger cash receipts and cash payment style transaction type. So you'd have someone accessing this screen but not the accounting screen. Lots of different job schedules here, which allows us to view jobs by sorted in according to the date they were won, or the date they're due to start, or the date they're due to complete, or indeed jobs by branch or region if you wanted to sort jobs into that sequence. You can also sort jobs by subcontractor that may be doing the work on the job. So there's lots of ways of viewing jobs and task schedules by date and by employee on this job setup menu. Other ways in which we can analyse jobs is to track all the various dates on a particular job, such as the date in which we first recorded it, quoted it, won the job, due to start, actually started, and so on. There's a whole dates file and we can track all the various relevant dates. Lots of analysis for ways of analysing not only the cost but the revenue and the profit by job type and by employee. There's lots of ways in which we can go in and monitor the trends and see the big picture, not necessarily job by job, but maybe by month or by job type. All sorts of information. One of the clever things, of course, is the document and drawings database. Documents may be photographs or indeed Microsoft Word documents or PDF documents, and you can link documents in a register to a client or to a job in relation to a client, or just in general you have a document register. And if we go back one step to the main menu, you can see right on the main menu is that document register. So you can call up documents and view them from within inside InterAcct, whether they be drawings or Word documents or photographs. What I want to do now is just go back to the jobs database, call up that job that we've just entered, and just show you a little bit more information about the sort of files that you can record under a particular job. Actually, before we go in and look at that job we just added, there is an alternate way of actually locating names or jobs on the database, and that's to use one of these popular search screens, such as searching on a company name or surname or first name, or even the phone number or email address. So you don't need to have a job number or even a client name. For instance, you could go into first names and search on first names like Larry, just L-A-R-R is alright, press enter, brings up a list. Of course there's only one on this list, and if we just press enter again, it will call up that name and link directly into that client file, as you can see, electrical contractors. And from there, if you wanted to go to see the jobs for that particular client, number 7 is the client list. Again, we press enter to call up that job we just added. Here's our job we just added a moment ago. We got to this point just by simply knowing the first name of the contact name. Okay, now that we're here, let's just go back into that transactions and processes file, because I wanted to give a little bit more detailed explanation as to what sits behind some of these menus. Okay, we did discuss in quite some detail, of course, the notion of being able to do quick estimates and quotes in relation to that, detailed estimates for one job, mini estimates for one job. That might be to handle a variation to contract estimate as well as the main job. But also you can copy estimates in from another job into this job and use that as a basis for amending an estimate, if you like, and then of course leapfrogging from that estimate prepare a quotation. Or just as we showed, or talked about, I should say, you can just do a straight estimate and not straight quotation, I should say, and no estimate at all. And then of course we've got the budget variance analysis, where we can see, in this case it's just a default main job phase of works, but we can see on this one screen what it would look like if we had some figures in here. We'd have the adjusted budget's contract sum, the budget cost, the variation to contract cost, the actual cost of course, variances, committed costs which come out of purchase orders and works orders, the percentage complete of budget versus actual, and of course you can nominate an actual percentage complete to extrapolate out the remaining cost to complete of that particular phase of work, and of course the expected profit and variance percentage on that. So there's a lot of information in terms of drilling down, firstly at a total level. For instance, you could go into the financial summary and see all the grand totals, because this job at this stage of course has just been entered and there's no financial information, but here you can see a snapshot of all the costs, both the budget cost, variation to contract cost, adjusted contract sum, the actual costs that have come in, committed costs from purchase orders and works orders, the work in progress balance, and the variance between that and the actual costs and what costs have been taken up. So really is a way in which you can see all these totals, and in this case we can see dates, what's been invoiced, the relevant sell prices and what's been quoted, and contract sums, and of course the profit, both the budget profit, expected profit, profit to date, and profit taken up on invoicing. Once again, another menu allowing us to drill down into the details. So if we had a variance here that we wanted to explain, we could go into the budget actual variance analysis, and from there we could even go down further and of course drill down into the cost items themselves, whether they be labour or materials, subcontractors or sundry costs, or in some cases you might have machine costs. So there's basically you can get right down to the nitty-gritty detail of explaining variances in terms of quantity variances, rate variances, or value variances. So it's three-way analysis of variances between budget and actual. So we're all leapfrogging from this main transactions and processes screen. We can go basically anywhere and drill down into the details, see nice little neat summaries. And some of those summaries might be like this, where you want to just see the labour and materials and sundry costs, and then the markup of those costs, in this case a budget, to show what the sell price would be, and showing you a total sell price as well. All zeros at this stage, so you'd have to use a little bit of imagination to see what it would be like once we actually opened this job and started doing some transaction processes. And again, drilling down from those nice little neat summaries, we can break it down by labour class, we can break it down by the individual materials and products, which of course links into the products or stock database. We can obviously link down, see a summary of all the trades or subcontractors, and go right down into the tasks that they're doing, if you like to do it that way, which is having standard costs there if you wish to. Sundry costs, of course, things like deliveries or just sundry expense recoveries, and machine time as well. Sundry costs could be, contingencies and things like that, as you will, rise and fall style things. Okay, back here at the transactions and processes. When we actually win the job, we can actually nominate the date it was won, the date it's due to start, the date it's due to complete, who's the project manager. We can start, I'll just pop into the screen so you can see the sort of things I mean. And you can have the expected finish dates, and then get from there a menu will appear and allow you to schedule who's going to work on that job, what employees, date and time, and of course you can check who's available as well. Now that may not be relevant to you. If not, again, you can turn those sort of things off the display. Little switch that turns them on and off. The job site details, that might be relevant if you're in the building repair game, where you need to record all sorts of information about a particular building site in terms of storage and power and water and toilet facilities and maybe security access arrangements with guards and all sorts of things. And again, there's another menu will appear here which will allow you to list out what tasks they're asking us to do, what work tasks, who's going to do them, what subcontractors are involved. Maybe the OH&S risk assessment can be recorded here too on a menu. So all sorts of information about a site. Now if you want to see more details on this, we've got software profiles which you can download, which show you all these screens and show you the budgets and with real life data in them, of course, and they're all available off our website. Contract billing is where you can actually put in details of the contract and break that contract up according to the phases of work. You can record contract variations, print them out at that point too, and get approvals for various contract variations. By the way, when you later do an invoice, and let's just poke our nose into as if we were writing it or preparing an invoice, one of the standard questions is, do you want an invoice reconciliation? And you can see it's defaulting to no in this example. In the help text here it says, if you say yes to this question, you not only get to print the invoice in whatever print format that you want to see the invoice in, because there could be, like a quotation, many different ways you want to lay the invoice out. You not only see the invoice, but you can see a reconciliation right from the original contract as let, plus any variations to contract, and it lists out those variations. It calculates the adjusted contract sum, and then it lists out what you've invoiced so far on that job. So it's a complete reconciliation for the from the customer, so they can see how this job fits into the overall contract. Over here, quite interesting things in terms of number 7, required to purchase. If you've done a budget for the job of what materials are required, when you win the job, it actually matches that budget of requirements for materials and products up against what you've got available in stock, and then identifies, as you can see here, what you need to purchase. So it says this is the budget quantity, this is what you need to purchase. Then when you do raise purchase orders, it will show that quantity there and what might need to be, what new purchase orders may need to be raised. You can reserve stock for a job, and that's when you've received the goods and you reserve them for the job. They may not be issued just yet, and then of course you can issue them the job and what's remaining to be issued. So this is a complete reconciliation of products in relation to a job, what's needed, what's been ordered, what's arrived, what's been issued, all in this one file. And of course you can manually raise purchase orders, which is number 18 here, or you can automatically raise them. Now the automatic raising of purchase orders is linked to that required to purchase file. So it allows you to go to the default supplier, because one product could have many alternate suppliers, and of course you can change the supplier on the purchase order. You can change things like the supplier's part numbers on products as well, of course, and of course you can amend the required quantity to order and then before actually preparing the purchase order itself. If stocks or materials are sitting in stock and you want to reserve them for a job and take them out as being no longer available to other jobs, you can reserve stock prior to actually issuing it. So it's a way of actually making sure that what's shown as currently in stock is available for this job, basically reserving it for this job. You can also do automatic stock issues. So if you need the stock according to the budget and it shows as being available, you can say automatically issue that stock to this job. It just saves you from manually putting in a stock issue transaction. Works orders is where you're raising works orders on subcontractors to perform certain trades. And again, if those works orders are part of your budget, you can automatically raise purchase orders based on the budget and the nominated subcontractor that you want to use. Also part of transactions, of course, is those subcontractors submitting claims against the original purchase order, and of course you can have things like retentions in there. You can have variations to contract agreed with the subcontractor and all those sort of things. Now there are automatic ways in which you can do these things. There are labour saving ways in which it cuts down the number of keystrokes. Some of those are explained, of course, in our software profiles, which you can download from the web. You can also enter creditor invoices here, supplier invoices for products or indeed just expenses, and you can do that, of course, under the accounting menu, or you can do it under the job as we are at the moment. Okay, well, one of the big areas for transaction input, of course, is employee timesheets. And there's not just one way in which you can enter these. There's several different options available to you. Quick timesheets and timesheet entry are basically allowing you to put in timesheets by date by employee. The quick timesheets is more where you've got an existing work schedule where you've actually scheduled who should work on this job by date, and then by calling up that schedule and clicking on a button that says literally start work, it records automatically the time that that employee worked on the job, and of course you can pause and restart and of course eventually end the task. The system then calculates the time automatically. So you can do that sort of semi-automatically or as a quick data entry or in the normal timesheet entry by date by employee. And of course you can break up what tasks were being performed by employee. Was it normal time, time and a half, double time? You can put of course all sorts of comments. Those transactions, like all these different job cost transactions, automatically update all this financial analysis, job totals, the individual job cost ledger, which is an old-fashioned style transaction by transaction ledger by date. All these analysis gets updated. Number 29, expense recovery. That's useful for recovering basically sundry expenses and items like freight against the job. Little consumable items, if you like. Machines used is a little bit similar to timesheets. It may not be relevant to every person, and if it's not, we turn that off the menu. It's allowing you to basically put in plant and equipment that's being used on the job, the hours that they've been used, and of course charging them out just as if they were employees. And of course, as a result of putting in that time by machine item or equipment item, the system automatically calculates the machine utilization statistics, so it matches the revenue that you're getting from charging machines out with the actual running cost of the machine. Okay, now that basically completes all the transactions. As I mentioned, you can enter transactions whilst in the job as we are at the moment, or you can go to the accounting menu or indeed the getting started menu for jobs and enter transactions. Basically they're to update each other. And it means that you can go in here and see a complete history link of everything that was posted against the job, or just a complete summary of them over here in the job cost ledger, where you can do a search and just see a list of all the transactions. And it will show the transactions by date, reference numbers, the cost item, whether it's been invoiced or not, the quantity cost, the markup of that cost to an expected sell price, and of course the profit being calculated, and the relevant supplier or employee that may be applicable to that transaction. So all these transactions here update all this cost analysis here. Okay, what we're now going to do is just run through these different processes and talk about the sort of things that you can do here. Not all of them will be relevant to you, and of course once again, if they're not, we'll take them off the menu just to simplify things. Okay, just looking at the various processes, the first one, actually, job notes, is not really a process. It's a free format notes file, and there is lots and lots of these throughout the InterAcct system, not just in relation to jobs, but all the way through clients and prospects and so on. It's a free format notes here. You can just type in whatever you like. You can time and date stamp it as we've done here, and you can also cut and paste text that may be recorded on an email or a Microsoft Word document or something of that nature, and again attach it to a job. There are lots of these notes files, particularly in relation to estimating. You can have notes about what work instructions are being required and all that sort of stuff, notes for subcontractors, employees, that sort of thing. If you need more notes files in different areas, in programming time it probably only takes 2 or 3 minutes to add a new notes file and of course attach it to a menu. Several different forms of letters. You can create your own library of standard form letters to be sent out in relation to a job, informing them of certain things, or maybe recording a request for a variation in time or variation of contract style letter as well. So all those letters can be recorded, printed out just like a personalised letter, and of course the history of who got that letter on what dates attached to the job automatically. In the same way, number 34, contact history. It's the same sort of file that's actually under the client database, where you can record what's happened in terms of meetings and conversations, etc., and what should happen in the future in terms of next action. The follow-up date, if you enter that there, will automatically update the diary alert system, which you might have seen back at the main menu as well. And of course you can search by employee, by range of dates, by priority and whatnot. A work schedule is really a tasks schedule of all the tasks that are in relation to this job, which might be things like who's going to order the materials, who's going to arrange the subcontractors, who's going to do organise the permits, and basically you can put these tasks against this job, assign them to employees, even estimate how long it should take to complete the task, and then that will automatically update an overall work schedule for each employee, so they can see not just the tasks in relation to one job, but everything for a date or a range of dates. The task to complete is slightly different in the sense that this is often used when you're at the stage of nearly completing the job and you want to list out the last remaining clean-up style jobs that have to be done and allocated to either an employee or a subcontractor to do before you can rightfully claim the last money that's due to you on the job. So once again, it goes into the unupdated task schedule. Number 37, you can make appointments. That's basically linking you back into that same follow-up diary where you can schedule employees to do things like site inspections and going out to do measuring quotes, etc. The document register and drawing register we saw back at the main menu, but this is the documents in relation, or drawings in relation to this particular job. Now those documents could be Word documents, photographs, drawings, PDF documents, whatever it may be. Of course, one click on them and they will open up and allow you to view that document. Just on that same topic of documents, if you like, under the invoicing, back ahead at number 15, sales invoicing, one of the options is to attach to a sales invoice a whole series of photographs like before and after work, particularly useful when you're doing repair work. And of course, to each of those photographs you can attach a couple of lines of comment or narration to explain what the photograph's about. So lots of and of course when they print them out, it's actually, we print out the invoice plus an attached sheet which will show up to 6 photographs per page with their little notes. The number 40, the query sheets, that allows you to record questions that are being asked of you by people like architects and engineers and maybe the client. It allows you to record those questions and the answers that you gave to each of the questions, and that of course then print them out and distribute those query sheets to the people. You can send and receive emails and record those details inside the system, but of course any email address attached to any contact name, one click on it and of course it will automatically open up Microsoft Outlook and allow you to send the email. Number 42, other parties involved, allows you to link all the other relevant parties that might be involved with a project, such as who is the architect, the engineer, the consulting surveyor, whatever it may be. It updates their relevant files in the job history to say what their role was, and keeps a history of when you were involved with those parties as well. And of course you can link into them to see all their contact details. Number 43, write-off revenue. Now this is where the system is comparing what you've actually billed on this job versus what the actual costs would indicate you should bill. So where there is a variance between what you've actually billed, or maybe the contract sum, and what the actual cost suggests you should bill, you can write that revenue off and actually attach reasons why you weren't able to claim that revenue. And over time, for all these different jobs that you've done, you can maybe see some transvertible report on it, even export the data out to Microsoft Excel and graph it if you wish to. And that's all to do with writing off and analysing who's responsible for that revenue write-off and what reason. Okay, bank guarantees is where you can record bank guarantees that have been given on the job and maybe their expiry dates and the value of those guarantees. To be invoiced later relates to service style work where you've completed the job, invoiced it, and then subsequently additional costs come in from somewhere, maybe a subcontractor, and they haven't been invoiced against the job because it's already been completed. You can record those costs and they'll come up as a reminder for you when you next do a job for that same client. Sales commissions, if that's relevant. Once again, if it's not, if you don't have sales commissions on jobs, we will remove that menu automatically and you won't see it. But, obviously that updates the commission ledger and so on. And just before we go on to visual search inquiries, 2 others here, request for quotes and request for trades. So request for quotes is based on your budget materials, where you can send out an RFQ, a request for quote, on numerous different potential suppliers to get them to quote their best price to you. You can record that against the database. It appears on those particular supplier files, their last quoted price, and so too with trades. If you've got a budget for tradespeople to be involved, you can prepare a request for trade just as prior to actually doing a works order or a purchase order. And then of course you can convert that RFQ or RFT, the request for trade, request for quote, you can just automatically convert it into a purchase order save you having to manually do a purchase order and raise it as a purchase order. Okay, so next what we're going to do is just talk about some of these visual search inquiries. Okay, visual search inquiries, which start off with number 49, that financial summary we've had a look at a moment ago, they're all automatically updated as a result of you keying in accounting transactions in this list that we've been through previously, or indeed when you put in your budget and quotation. They automatically allow you to analyse these costs and both budget, actual and variance, all sorts of different ways. Now, this is the standard system we're looking at, and of course there are numerous variations on what I'm about to show you. Just going back into that financial summary though, this is where we see all the grand totals. It's all represented by these fields that are shaded in green here. And of course those totals relate to costs, sell prices, what's been invoiced. And as you can see, progress claims and invoice, that's the grand total there, but they're actually entered under menu number 5 and 6, progress claims and invoices. And indeed it integrates with the accounting system, so when you get cash receipts in relation to this job, they'll post automatically here. And indeed any retentions in regard to that will show, plus the retention due date down here under the dates area. And so there is a little mini debtors record inside the job itself that shows you the balance due and what you get to invoice based on the costs and the markup on those costs in terms of the expected sell price. So it's a very nice way of seeing all these grand totals, and once again, if need be, drill down into the detail. Alright, I'll go just back one step to the transactions and processes screen. Now that same familiar budget actual variance analysis is shown through a lot of these other files here as well. The job cost ledger is where it'll show you all the transactions that have hit this job. Those are accounting transactions such as timesheets and creditors invoices and the like. And it will list out the dates and reference numbers and allow you to link back into the source transaction that was originally entered for it to arrive here in the first place. This column here, which says hasn't been invoiced yet, is used if you're using the draft automatic invoicing. So basically, if you want to raise an invoice automatically, it looks at the costs that have hit this job to date and looks at the expected sell price and raises draft invoices on that basis, which of course you can amend to suit yourself. Once it's been invoiced, it flags them as being invoiced yes, and so next time you run it, which may be the following week, it looks at any new transactions that have hit this job and once again raises a draft invoice. So it's a very quick way of preparing invoicing and making sure that you don't miss out on any cost recovery. Phase summary we saw before, which allows you to break down your job costs into different sub-jobs, or we call phases. Once again, we've got this familiar budget, actual variance analysis. Again, we can drill down on these totals by phase and see them by cost item, such as the various labour classes, or indeed the breakdown by trades or materials or whatever it may be. Budget, actual, variance once again. Okay, so that was a summary by phase. We've got the same sort of thing in total, which I showed you before over here as a one screen total. We can also break it down by cost group. Cost groups are again grand totals by labour, materials, subbies and so on, so you can just see some summarised views of this budget, actual, variance analysis once again. We also show the committed costs in a lot of cases. That's the total of outstanding purchase orders and works orders on suppliers and subcontractors, both with the actual cost. So you can see not only what's actually come in via invoicing, but what's yet to come in terms of committed costs. And of course we've got these percentage completes there as well. Cost items are the individual cost items, such as the individual items of material, individual trades, individual labour broken down by class, such as leading hand, tradesperson, apprentice, etc. Once again, we get this budget, actual, variance analysis, both in terms of quantity, costs and sell price. You can also view here purchase orders that have been raised, and it will show you what's not only been raised as purchase orders, but what's come in against those purchase orders as actual deliveries and what's yet to come in, and any variations between what we expected the cost to be and the actual cost. So too with works orders. You can monitor again what your works orders are outstanding by subcontractor, what's been invoiced or claimed and what's yet to come in, and any retentions against those works orders. We also control variations to contract with subcontractors in that area. Number 57, hours written off, is where you've actually put in timesheets by employee, but we weren't able to claim all those times back. so that it's really analysing hours written off by employee by reason, and it will go and update the employee's monthly performance analysis, of course. And lastly, in this area of visual search inquiries, we've got a summary of monthly billings, and this will summarise by month the costs that are hitting this job, so we can see by month what costs have come against this job from all the accounting and the markup of those costs to an expected sell, an expected profit. And then we've got what's actually been invoiced and the profit that's actually been taken up and any committed costs. So this is a nice little summary which is going to be summarised by month of what's actually taking place in this job, and it's great for long-running jobs where you can monitor in one screen what's going on in terms of costs and profits and what's being earned. I mentioned before there's lots of standard reports. You can see examples of those in our software profiles that you can download from our website. There are report generators, of course, and what is typical is that we of course design reports for specific purposes for you if that's what you need. But in most cases you'll see there are standard reports that will do everything you want to do. During the implementation process, I'll just go back to the main menu. During the implementation process, we work through every one of these screens that we just looked at in the training system. So we have two copies of InterAcct, one your live data and one the training, where we copy your live data into the training and then basically run through and just have a look at each of these files, decide whether they're relevant to you. If not, remove them. Or we may personalise the fields, add or change the fields to suit. It might be to simplify the system for you. We print out any relevant reports in relation to that data entry. Look at those reports. Of course, they'll have your logos on them. And again, we can change those report designs to suit. So when you actually start running live with your system, using it day to day, it will start to look like a system that's been designed specifically for you. To add a new field, change one, take it off the display, we're talking seconds of programming time. So it's designed to be extremely flexible, and over time you may want to keep coming back into the system and changing it to suit yourself.